Welcome to Weaving Happiness Through Grief, where we navigate the delicate balance between love, loss, and the resilient heart. I'm Stephanie, an author and storyteller who found joy and healing after the unimaginable heartbreak of losing a once-in-a-lifetime love. This podcast dives into the raw truth of grief, the beauty of cherished memories, and the hope of new beginnings. Through my journey, rediscovering happiness and opening my heart again, I've learned that grief and joy can coexist, and love can find us when we least expect it. Join me as we honor the past, embrace the present, and step boldly into the future with courage and vulnerability. Let's celebrate the resilience of the human spirit and the beauty of living fully, even after a loss. Welcome back. Once the plan was in place, we had to take care of a few small details before we actually started the actual radiation and the treatments. We sat there in the administrative office and we went through all the paperwork and figuring everything out. One of the things that happened was the insurance did not like the approach we were taking. They thought it was more than we needed. It didn't fit in with the plan that they thought was the best plan and approach for Jeff to cover. We didn't agree. We had one thing in mind. It was to do everything in our power, humanly power, to do to save him. And so I'm on the phone and Jeff's sitting there and he's tired, he's weak, he's in pain. He had just gone through surgery and he was mentally preparing, emotionally preparing as we were for what was about to happen to his body. And I'm listening to the insurance on the other end of the phone, explaining to them what we're about to do, and they were arguing with me that it wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to cover the procedures and the chemo and the radiation that we were mapped out. And our team at Loma Linda was very on board with us, and we were ready to fight, but the insurance company wasn't ready. And she said, "You aren't going to do this. I'm sorry. We'll have to take this up and we'll get back to you." And I remember I immediately just looked, not again, I say looked, but I didn't look. I said to her on the phone, "This is life and death. You're either in or you're in the way." I said, "We're doing this with or without you." And she said, we can't get on board with this. We're not going to cover it. And my dad, being a poker player, we played poker a lot in our home, he taught me, you know your hand, you play your hand, and you do what you need to do. And so I said to the insurance company on the phone, "This conversation's over. We'll do what we have to do." And I hung up. I looked at the other person on the other side of the desk at the hospital, and I looked at her and I said, "Just give me a few moments, please." And I grabbed my wallet. I took out all my credit cards. I think it was 3 total. And I called each one of them, and I had the same conversation with each one. And I said, "I'm at the hospital. My husband has cancer. We're doing these treatments. I need you to extend and max out my cards. What's the maximum credit you can give me?" And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like we still have a business. Like kids are in college. I got bills to pay. I have a mortgage. Like, the hell am I doing? But you're not really thinking about that. Although it's in the back of your mind, it's clearly not the most important thing. But money is a factor. Even though you don't want it to be, it is. But I kept thinking, if I have to, we'll sell the house. We'll figure something out. It's going to work itself out one way or the other. I was tunnel vision. I knew what we were going to do, and we were going to save Jeff. So with each phone call, with each credit card, I increased my limit, and I talked to each one of them. I looked over at the woman on the other side of the table at the hospital, and I handed her all 3 credit cards. And I said, "What's your cash price?" And she looked at me like I had 3 heads. And she's like, "You're not doing this." And I said, "Yes, I am." I said, "What is the cost?" And she had to make some calls, figure it out. Cash price is different than insurance price. And I had her max out every one of my credit cards. It didn't matter what it cost, because there was no price on his life. There was nothing I wouldn't do for that man. So she maxed him out, and our summer started. It started off with the making of the mask. And it's this very archaic kind of contraption. If you haven't experienced radiation, it's a soft material that's formed onto your face, onto Jeff's face. And it's very tightly, and it was about down to his chest to the top of his head, and it covers everything. Tiny little pinholes, just enough space here for the mouth. And then they screw it on real tight, so it leaves impressions every day that he would have to wear it. And then we went to the chemo department, and we walked through what that plan was going to look like. So for 8 weeks, they put the mask on him, they tightened it on every day, and after that, and I waited for him there, we would go down to the chemotherapy department, and then they would hook him up to the IVs, and they would put the chemo in him. That man went through hell. His body was tortured. And we made the choice to do it. Our resolution and our love were stronger than any treatments, but it stretched us to the limits. And as much as I was stretched to the limits emotionally, physically, exhausted, and then dealing with, the parts of life that we all still have to deal with, family, finances, things like that, I just would look at him, and it would bring me back to the place of why we were doing what we were doing. And I thought, if he can put his body through hell, and he's willing to put himself through that for me and the rest of the family, then my strength has to be limitless to support him in doing what we're doing. And together, we fought that summer to save him.
As we close this episode of Weaving Happiness Through Grief, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey of remembrance, resilience, and rediscovery. Loss is a path none of us choose, but together we can walk through it, honoring the love that was and of the life that still awaits us. If today's story touched a part of your own journey, know that you're not alone. Grief, though profound, doesn't close us off from joy. It teaches us how to hold space for both love and loss. And sometimes it opens our hearts to unexpected new beginnings. Join me next time as we continue to explore healing, acceptance, and the beautiful bittersweet moments that remind us life can still be filled with happiness. And remember, while we honor the love that has shaped us, we open ourselves to the hope that the future holds. Please head over to the show notes to find out more of the ways I offer guidance on the topics I discussed in the podcast, or visit thestephanieduran.com. Until next time, take gentle steps forward, hold your memories close, and know that joy and love in all its forms continues on.